Let's talk knitting plans for 2023. Now, I know these types of videos are usually put out a little earlier in the year, but I just didn't happen to have my life together back then, so we're doing it now. And it actually worked out better this way because my husband and I have recently booked a trip to Paris, and I am so excited because this will be my first time leaving the United States. And because of that, I've just basically decided to center almost an entire year's worth of knitting around this one trip. So we're gonna be going in the fall, and so I'm gonna try to make just a few sweaters to take with me. And that being said, I'm gonna go through the things that I want to knit before Paris, and then a couple of things that I would save for the end of the year. So getting started, the first thing that I'm gonna finish is my Stockholm sweater. This is the Stockholm sweater by PetiteKnit. And this is what I have so far, basically only one sleeve left to go. And I'm loving it. Well, I like the pattern a lot. Not sure if I'm 100% convinced on the yarn, but I'm enjoying it. And so that'll be the first thing I finish, probably in the next week or so. And then the first real thing that I'm gonna make with Paris in mind is sweater number 21 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. And I have already made a swatch for this. It's so beautiful. And I'm gonna be using half of the recommended yarn. And so that first half is Isager Eco Soft in the color E6S. And I couldn't actually find the other Isager yarn that was recommended from the pattern. So I found what was kind of close, which is a brand called Queensland Collection United. And this is almost a 50-50 mix of lamb's wool and cotton. And together, I think they swatched up to be really nice. You can definitely see the Queensland yarn like kind of popping through, but I kind of like that. I think it looks cool. So I am super excited to start knitting on that sweater, which I'll probably start before I finish the Stockholm sweater. Not great of me, but I'm just really excited and looking forward to it. And then the next thing that I'm gonna make is a striped sweater, because who can go to France without a horizontally striped sweater? Now, the original pattern that I had in mind for this was gonna be PetiteKnit's Marseille sweater, because I loved her color choice, I loved her yarn choice, and I love like the little design here around the collar where like the two rows of stitches keep going. Anyway, it's beautiful, I love it. However, the Stockholm sweater is a drop shoulder. Sweater number 21 is a drop shoulder. The Marseille sweater is a drop shoulder. And while I think it is absolutely beautiful, I honestly just don't know if I want to knit 3 drop shoulder sweaters in a row, because I don't want to get worn out with it. I want to basically just keep my knitting interesting and not make it all about the finished product. So what I found is the Sunde sweater by November Knits. Now, there are a few things that I would change about this pattern. For example, I don't like the frequency of the stripes. I think there's just a little bit too many for the look that I'm going for. Also, I'm not super convinced on the mohair that's in it. So what I think I'm gonna do is end up purchasing both PetiteKnit's pattern and the November Knits pattern and kind of make some type of Frankenstein between the two of them and see what happens. So I think knitting a raglan style sweater with the Sunde sweater is going to be exactly what I'm looking for. It's going to be a little bit different, but also hopefully give me that chic Parisian look that I'm going for. I haven't made an official decision on the yarn yet, so I'm going to do a little research and kind of see what would best fit that type of sweater, you know, gauge and everything. But also, we're gonna be going at a time of year where it could be a little warmer than expected. So I might try to opt for like a lighter kind of yarn that's a little less wintry, but I haven't officially decided yet. So I'll definitely let you know as soon as I get the yarn for that sweater. Okay, and then lastly, this is kind of like a side project that like if it happens, it would be really cool. But I would actually love to knit another Stockholm sweater because I am loving this pattern, and so far I love the fit of it on me, but I'm not super convinced on the yarn, like I just mentioned, as being like the only version of this sweater that I want. I definitely want something that's just a full one color look, and I think it was Rebecca from the Crea Bay Knitting podcast who said she made hers in 1 strand of drops alpaca and 1 strand of tin silk mohair. and it looks beautiful. I think she even said it's like one of her most worn sweaters of last year. So thank you for that suggestion, Rebecca. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make that as a side project. Like if I get to it, that would be really, really, really nice. And if not, that's also okay. I will eventually do it though. So those are the things that I officially want done before traveling to Paris. But then I do have a couple of patterns that would be nice to accomplish. Now, I knit pretty slowly, so I honestly think like 3 sweaters is a really good estimation of what I can get done before this trip. So these next couple of patterns are really just if everything goes swimmingly and I have a lot of extra free time. So the first pattern that I would like to make is the Elizabeth blouse by PetiteKnit. Now, I followed this sweater for 2 months before it was released. I was hyped, I was so excited. I bought it on the day it came out. But for some reason, nowhere in that 2-month period did I price out how much this sweater would cost. And y'all, if I were to make it with her recommended materials or even just any type of cashmere, we're looking at a $200 to $300 sweater. And I just don't know if that's like in the cards for me right now. And I definitely like it's because it's kind of between making a choice of do I knit this one really beautiful sweater or do I maybe like split that cost up over like 2 different types of sweaters that, you know, are still beautiful and nice, but, you know, a little less expensive on the material side. So I've definitely got some time to think about it. And I know she gave an option to do knitting for olive, mohair and their merino, but the cashmere just looks so beautiful. Like I don't know, for some reason I can only imagine myself wearing this sweater if it's cashmere, and I think am I becoming a snob? I've never even owned anything that's cashmere, but for some reason, like this one needs to be cashmere in my mind. But anyway, I'm gonna give myself like several months to definitely research the materials, maybe come up with the funding for it, or come up with a really good alternative that kind of meets that like elegant, sophisticated, expensive style without necessarily being all of those things. So anyway, that is kind of a best case scenario pattern that I'd like to knit. And then lastly, as far as in an ideal world, what I would get done before traveling to Paris is I would make Beret number 3 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. Because again, as with the striped sweater, can you even go to France without a beret? Do I own one already? Yes. But do I want to make this one? Also, yes. It's just so cute. And I mean, would I look like an American? Would I look like Emily in Paris? Like, would I look a little ignorant and whatever? Yeah, probably. But I mean, you might as well embrace it. Might as well have fun, right? And it would just be kind of fun. I've never made a head accessory. And so I think it'd be a good first one, maybe, if I don't make something else before then. And yeah, I don't know. It's so chic. It's so Parisian. Why not? So if I get to it, that would be super, super awesome. All right, and so after Paris, I have 2 specific patterns in mind because I think both of them will take quite a bit of time. So I'm trying to be as realistic as possible with my knitting plans for this year. And so the first pattern that I would want to knit is the Hazel sweater by PetiteKnit. I absolutely love the kind of brown tan color she chose, and I honestly think that's what I'll go for. I love the turtleneck. I am a turtleneck girl because what's the point of having a pencil neck if you don't turtle it anyway? Turtle it? Anyway, I am just super in love with this pattern and I can't wait to make it. So that's definitely going to be like the thing that I do at the end of this year, and so if I get anything done, it'll be this. But then secondly, if I get to it, I would love to make the November jacket by PetiteKnit. Now, I've never done brioche stitch, and I've heard it can be a little bit tiresome. So that's a little scary, but I just love the look of it. Like, oh my gosh, if this could be something that I start this year and then it just takes me however long to finish it, I think I'm totally okay with that. I love, again, her gray color choice. I don't know if I would do gray, but I do love that. And I think the biggest thing that attracted me to this pattern is that it doesn't have buttons on it. I love cardigans, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'm ready for buttons yet, or buttonholes specifically. So I think this would be a great first try of a cardigan, even though I might just be completely shooting myself in the foot with this kind of stitch. But we'll see. I'll let you know when we get there, if we get there. But that's pretty much it as far as pattern plans go for this year. I know it's a lot of petite knit, but like, is it really your first official year of knitting if it's not 80% petite knit? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, those are the pattern plans that I have. But then I also have a couple of just overarching knitting goals. And the first goal is to try cables at some point. I love the look of cabled knits, but I haven't yet found a pattern that really speaks to me. I also haven't looked that hard, I'll be honest. But my goal this year is to try cables in some facet, and ideally that'll be a sweater, but I just don't know if I'll have time for that with all of the other things that I have planned. But hopefully somewhere in there we'll be able to try some cables. And then my next knitting goal is to use Knitting for Olive. Like, oh my gosh, if there has been any consistent thing in like every single knitting podcast that I have listened to and watched, it's Knitting for Olive. And this stuff must be magical because people love it and I want to love it too. I want to try it. I don't know what I'm going to put it in. It could be one of those things where I knock out like two birds with one stone. Like I knit a petite knit pattern in Knitting for Olive, and that kind of, you know, gets both of them, like the Elizabeth blouse or something. But I just want to try it. Like, it looks so beautiful, and I love on their website how they talk about where everything is sourced, super ethical, super just environmentally focused and friendly, and I love that. So Knitting for Olive, I'm coming for you this year. I'm gonna try it. I hope it's gonna be great. It probably will be. Let's see. And then I have two more goals for the year. And the first one is to try mohair, which could also be knocked out with the Knitting for Olive goal. But I have never worked with mohair, and I'm a little bit intimidated by this. Well, for one, because of how expensive it can be. That's another big thing I've heard people talk about. But then also potentially how addictive it can be, because you either love it or you hate it, from what I've heard. And I'm a lover of really soft things. So I'm a little afraid that I'm not going to like the mohair, but I definitely want to try it. And I'll let you guys know whether or not I think it's soft, because I just love soft things. So maybe if I'm like on the fence about it after trying one brand, I'll probably try a couple more before I make like my official go or no go on mohair in the future. All right, and then lastly, this is kind of a weird goal, but I want to make a hat for every single person in my family. And that's going to be a lot of hats. So I might have to do like one a month until Christmas, because I want to give it as Christmas gift. By the way, if you're my family, just stop listening. Don't watch this, because that's what you're getting for Christmas this year. But I would love to learn how to make hats. Like I said, I've never knitted like headwear accessories before. So if I could just do kind of like a basic beanie for everyone, like pick one pattern that I really like and just go for it and make everyone in my family one in different colors and maybe different materials, I think that'd be super sweet. Just like a little handmade gift that has some function to it. And it's just great practice too. So that's like my last kind of weird goal of the year. I would love hat pattern recommendations. I'm just looking for a plain-ish beanie. Like, I think a rib would be pretty, but just something that's pretty plain, pretty versatile, where just the fabric itself can really shine through and be the center of attention. So let me know if you have any knitting hat pattern suggestions. And that is it as far as my knitting plans go for this year. Well, I say that's it. I feel like that's kind of pretty ambitious for me and how slow I knit, but I'm really excited. I hope I get to at least start a lot of these, and then if it takes me longer, then that's totally cool. But I am super, super excited about this year of knitting and just everything that I hope to do and learn, and yeah, just really get into this craft and appreciate it. Like I said, it's my first official year of knitting, I would call it, and I can't wait to see what I make. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day.